Good morning, if
Good
anyone's
morning,
here.
people.
I'm not sure.
I hope so.
I love the ambiguity of the start.
Yeah, it's
I
all
mean,
about good.
just crack on. Good morning. Welcome back. Sorry we were gone for so long. Chris obviously Chris has been in the gym since the last podcast we had.
I haven't actually. This is the first time I've left the gym in 2 weeks.
He's going to drop one of those challenges that's like spending 2 weeks in a gym, and Mr. Beast is going to give him like £10,000 or something like that.
My gym's 24 hours. It's got showers, it's got toilets. It's actually possible.
Can you eat? Has it got a vending machine?
It has got a vending machine, but it's all protein bars and like waters and stuff. So living off protein bars might be a bit mad.
Protein bars and milkshakes. Just
and
fucking
also everything's for a bottle of water. It's like £2.50. So
going broke in 2 weeks in a gym. Yeah. But good morning. How's it all going? This week we will be finishing off our top 10 things, top 10 things that are going to help you be successful in your reselling business this year. But before that, obviously, as we know, if anyone's a staple around here, we've got to get to waffling about some stuff. I have some stuff to waffle about, to be fair. But
interesting.
Would you like to go first, or do you want me to go first?
Oh, you could go first. Let's have a little listen to what I have to say.
Where do we start? First and foremost. So this was I was meant to 2 weeks ago. I was meant to talk about this on the podcast, but I forgot. That I basically did a full-on clear out. I put 117 things up for auction because I was looking at, and obviously this has been in my store for probably like getting on years now, or at least some of the stuff, right? A lot of it hadn't, but a lot of it had been way over my time period, and we've reduced it, and clearly just nobody wants it. So realistically, at this point, it was time to get it gone. So we threw everything up for 99p auction. I'm actually going to see if I can find the results quickly. Can you search orders by auctions?
Yeah, you can.
All orders.
If you go to your store, you could go, instead of saying buy it now, you could just go on everything, right?
What?
If you're on your store, you can go, instead of clicking buy it now on your store when you're searching your store in solds.
Yeah, but you can't do that for orders, can you?
I don't know. Can you?
I don't know.
I don't know. Morning, Simon. Morning, Jack. Morning, Andrew. Just say hello to the chat while you're trying to find what you're doing. I actually did my first ever auction for the year as well this week.
Oh, really?
And it was based on the fact that, if anyone, I don't know if anyone knows him because he's quite quiet, or like isn't super like knowledgeable or known in the space, but you remember Zach, the camera guy? Like he's not
super. It's funny to say Zach and then say also not super knowledgeable, which is
fun. He's not.
I know what you meant to say, but it's funny that you accidentally said not.
He's super knowledgeable, but people don't know much about him.
Yeah.
We had him on the in the group for a call like a long time ago. And he obviously sells cameras and stuff. And I buy a lot of cameras from Car Boots, but I buy them from house clearance companies where they have boxes and boxes of them, right? So the percentage from the place that I normally get them from, the percentage of them working is usually about 70 to 80%. So I don't mind paying like £5 to £10. It's a pretty good rate in general. But anyway, I'd accumulated a massive box of just broken cameras that weren't working. And essentially I whittled them down, got rid of some of the crap ones like that I probably shouldn't have bought even if they were working. And I ended up with 18 cameras that were all broken, sold as spares or repairs. And I was like, I don't know how much to price this for. And once I commit to an auction, I'm committing to an auction. So I committed to the 99p start, and somebody, bearing in mind I got free postage, so it could have just sold 99p and I could have been in the hole, right? And a guy messaged me straight away and said, I'll give you 15 quid for them. And I was like, okay, this was within 10 minutes. I was like, okay, there's definitely some value here because most people wouldn't do that, right? Mm-hmm. Anyway, it finished yesterday for £51.60, which for 18 broken cameras wasn't actually generally wasn't that bad. Obviously, I do free postage and there were some fees or whatever. But in general, I couldn't complain at all. Yes, sir.
Where did Zach come into that whole story?
Oh, because he mentioned previously in that call that we had with him that you had to find an outlay for your old stuff. And we, in the group, we talk about if you're getting stuff in bulk, you have to have a place that you can sell the stuff that is not worth it or not very good or broken. And he had obviously mentioned that he had a guy, I think that was based in Japan, that used to just buy his like broken camera bundles or whatever. So that was where it came from, because I'm normally in the mood to like just bin, like I would just bin all of them normally. But he's been in my head since the start. So I started boxing all the cameras, saving them. But then I got in my own head and was like, why am I listing broken cameras? Who cares? And then because I tidied my dining room and made sure that I got it all sorted, I was like, you know what? Just gonna fucking do it. I did it. They sold 50 quid in my pocket for something I probably would have thrown away 6 months ago. So can't complain. That's where he came in. Sorry.
I have no idea how to check what I've sold on auction.
You said 80, was it 80 out of 100 or something, right?
I sold, like 80 something out of 100, maybe 90. And I end up, so I clear, and I wanted to say how much I made. I can't remember. It didn't it wasn't anything crazy, right? Like it was like maybe, I don't know what it was after postage, but I think in total bids we had like.
So I don't know if I asked you or not, but like in terms of is there a reason why because I have in my head sometimes if I'm going to do an auction, I've got it in my head. I've got since you spoke about clearing out in the auction, and I think we both did it in January last year. We both did like a 100-item auction or whatever. And I wrote it down because I've got to do sort of clear out of the older stuff. And I was thinking to myself, it's tough for me because I had my old store that was banned on Vinted and some of the stuff's on there. So it comes up as a duplicate list or whatever. But is there a part of you that was like, I'll just reduce it to like £3 or £4 on Vinted and see and get, or is it more the fact that you could get rid of a large amount very quickly and just get it gone and not worry about it?
I mean, I probably could have, like, I should have, in terms of the process, right? I probably should have a middle stage, which is like, a lot of this stuff had been like reduced though. So it was around like the £10 mark, some under, some over, generally speaking anyway.
Yeah.
But I probably could have a middle stage where you just go, oh, like here's the £5 clearance section, here's the £3 clearance section, or something, right? Before
Tommy's got the clearance section, right? He's got the £5 clearance.
Yeah.
He'll just go down to £5 clearance or whatever.
To be fair, a lot of the stuff didn't sell for more than 99p a pound something. So what? Do
you charge postage?
Yeah, I do. On all my auctions, I charge postage.
Okay.
Because else I'm just losing money.
Yeah, I was going to say, I just did that,
yeah. So yeah, it was interesting. I got rid of a load of stuff. There was like a few things that did well, which I wasn't surprised. Like nothing crazy did well that I was surprised at, because a lot of it was just bad stuff. Like it was not good. It was a waste of space. And we basically wanted a nice, fresh, clean area. And then because afterwards, anything that didn't sell, I did another 3-day auction on. And then sold like another 5 or 6 things. And then after that, I was like, all of this can go away. So
they've had 2 cycles, their bins.
Yeah, I picked and packed my stuff, and then I went through again and I picked all the stuff and just took it to the charity shop. And I was like, this is done now. No more of this. And yeah, we cleared a load of space. I've now got to consolidate and see what space we got left and how many things. I mean, I think that took me down to like 228 items in my store. And on that's another thing I wanted to walk about. So it's been interesting, right? So obviously I've gotten back to listing at the start of this year. And again, it's been interesting because I know it's going to take a while to fully get back into selling the right amount as I was before.
I was actually going to add, this was a follow-up question to what you were saying. So I'm glad that you've come up to it already.
Also, I like using we. I use we all the time for just things that I do. I don't know why. Why is it the royal we? What makes it royal? Like, why is it like?
I have no idea.
Someone answer me, Jack. I'm sure you know the answer to this. But I say we all the time. Even when I'm talking to people about like what my business is doing, I generally refer to myself as we.
You know what the best bit is that there is a we for me, and I still use I.
See, that's a bad mentality.
That's not very good, is it? Tash is always like, "Oh, is it I? Is it?" How about
it's an interesting point though, because I think I is depending on who you're talking to. For example, if you're talking to a customer, I think I is often better sometimes because it like makes it could make them a bit more forgiving of if you make a mistake. like if you say, "Oh, sorry, I will get this out for you as quick as I can," it gives them the vision that, oh, just a poor little boy trying to get the stuff, trying to get the stuff to me. Whereas we is like, oh, we are functioning as a professional operation. This will 100% be to the highest standard. So show up, which you should hold yourself to anyway. So do that. But yeah, I don't know why I use we. Anyway, where was that? Oh, so yeah. I've started listing again, right? I started listing again at the start of this year. Cracked on with 10 a day. Haven't missed a day since. We're not going to miss a day till I die, until I decide to miss a day. And it's been super interesting, right? Now that I sell on Vinted as upfront as well, because so previously, obviously, I just sold on eBay, and then I've gone to like this eBay Vinted clearance strategy or whatever, and now I list on both at the same time. Or, for example, today, I got to eBay late yesterday, so didn't list on Vinted. So listed on Vinted this morning. And it massively carries your sell-through rate. So, for example, the same way it would have taken me, or has taken me, it has, right? It would take me time on eBay to build up my store again, to then be able to sell 10 a day. It hasn't been super consistent, right? But there's been plenty of days where I am, considering I was at a 1,600 item store, and that was making me sell 10 a day. I'm now at a 238 store or something. I don't know, I have 249 or something, I think, with the listings I put in. Hold on, let me double check, just so I'm not giving up false information. 258. So we jumped up a few over the weekend. And I've been able to sell like 7 to 10 a day, except for this weekend. Actually, this weekend's been real bad.
That's quite interesting, because
I know you've had a really good weekend.
On the back of that, like, and I was just going to back the sell-through rate thing, right? Like, obviously, I've had days where I haven't hit that, and maybe that's just in a combination, and the store started to grow, and then whatever. But for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, obviously, we list 20 a day at the moment. We list 20 a day at the moment. And we've sold more than 20 a day. But obviously, at the moment, eBay is around anywhere between 10 and 15 in sales. And then like Vinted's been like anywhere between 5 and 10, which obviously for us and the way that we do Vinted and stuff like that has been pretty decent. So actually, we've been at like 25 plus in terms of sales for the last like 3 days, which is really interesting.
Did anyone remember Chris bang on about Vinted not being as great as everyone said it was?
Yes, absolutely. Listen, right.
I don't know if I remember that.
But again, yesterday I sold 15 things on eBay and 9 on Vinted. So again, Vinted is not as good.
That's not as good as your eBay listing.
It's close. It's close to but it definitely does speed up your sell-through.
Yeah, that's the thing that's super interesting. So I've been listing some very good items, right? Like the stuff that over the start of this month, it's a load of back stock that I've had, and there's been like a load of toast in there. There's been some E&M. There's been all sorts of stuff, right? And so that's obviously really helps. But stuff that would sell on eBay in, I'd say, like a few weeks. Right, like pretty quick. I'd consider for eBay sell-through rate pretty quick. Like on eBay, I barely have ever see anything instantly sell in a day. Like it very.
That was it. Right? My coffee machine yesterday, but the clothing wise is like so.
Clothing, like it like never happens. It's
very amount. Yeah,
it does happen, but it's very rare in comparison to Vinted, where it is more likely. If it doesn't sell in a day or a couple of days, it's like it's not going to sell until you relist it, and it hopefully sells in a day or so again. So when you're, especially if you're like, this is such an interesting conversation, especially if you're starting out, right? 2 things. One is obviously Vinted is fee free, so it's a slightly more a softer barrier to entry in terms of you don't have to worry about stuff, and the margins of the stuff you can pick up can be more forgiving. But also, if you're trying to grow and you're trying to get that turnover of stock just from the start, from starting from nothing, like I think Vinted is so powerful for something like that. But long story short, anyway, my sell-through rate's been surprisingly good considering I've lost 1,400 items. And again, this weekend has not been good. And obviously, you and Crystal have had really good weekends, but I'm expecting next weekend to be really good because I think it's payday coming up, right? Or was it?
Some people have been paid because I think some people get paid earlier on in January, so it'd be like the 25th, 23rd, something like that, which is probably where like a lot of our sales are coming from. But then I think like a lot of other people then get paid on the first, like normal. Like I don't get paid till I pay myself, but like I don't get paid until the first. Like it doesn't. So I think there are some companies that still stick to it even in the January. So
I've still got a lot of people asking for reservations, like more than I ever have.
Yeah.
Which is,
or I'm just waiting until payday, or I'm waiting for a balance to clear.
Yeah,
or
I need to be in selling mode, not buying mode right now, because like a lot of people seem penny pinched a little bit, which is interesting. What else do I have to waffle about? I had definitely had other stuff. The other thing that's been interesting. So I was gallivanting around this weekend, and I dropped into, I think, somewhere near you, which is New Life.
Where were you? Do you know?
Burton to start with.
Okay, yeah.
And then chased up because of how interesting and well it went in Burton. I then chased up the next nearest one, which was in Cannock, I think.
Yeah, I've been that one. So yeah, I've been, they've actually had, believe it or not, they've actually had me and Em in that Cannock one before.
I got 2 pieces of me and Em yesterday.
Oh, did you really? Because we've got one 20 minutes up the road, and that one's been decent for us. But the Burton one is just on the edge of the Peak District, right? But and it's just on the bottom of it. And Cannock is where Xander lives, like out that way. Well, not quite Cannock, but like out that way.
He lives near Stoke, doesn't he?
Yeah, so you were probably relatively close to him.
Oh, interesting.
Did you go to Cannock or not? Oh, and he's gone. So it looks like it's just me. Hello. Oh, he's back. Confused. Hey, Benji.
I accidentally pressed back on my, like I swiped my fingers on my mouse and it went back.
I was gonna say, did you end up going to the Cannock one or not?
Yeah. It was nowhere near as good as the one we went to.
The Cannock's more of like a warehouse looking one, isn't it? So it's a very big one.
So it was super interesting, right? Yeah, I mean they were pretty similar actually. I mean the Cannock was a little bit bigger, a decent bit bigger, but it was not as big. But so the Burton one wasn't as big, but I preferred the Burton one. So realistically, they had like, so for anyone that doesn't know what these places are, I've never been to a charity shop like it. So obviously charity shops get corporate donations in.
Yeah, New Life is just corporate.
So yeah, for anyone that doesn't know, corporate donations is just when any brand or company donate their stock, their previous season stock or overstock to charities, right? For a tax write-off, who knows? But New Life is simply just corporate donations. Like everything in there is basically newer tags or brand new without tags. And it was super interesting, right? Because in the men's section actually wasn't as good as the women's section in terms of brands. Like the men's section really didn't have that interesting stuff. The main thing that happened was walking past the shop. I looked right, and it actually looked at first like, I don't know if you've ever seen one of those shops that just sells everything and they're always on sale. Yeah. Like always having a clearance sale. It like one of those shops that just is always clearing everything they own all the time ever. And I looked right, and there was like £5 rails at the front. It was all clothing. I was like, is this just going to be like, no branded, terrible clothing that I don't care about? And then no, the first rack I saw was Levi's newer tags, like all of them for £5. And I was like, what's happening? And then it was all women's. So generally women's Levi's perform a bit worse than men's. But I went through the rail and it was all like terrible sizes. It was all like size 6s, size 8s for jeans, which is like 20. I mean, the size 8s you can get away with. The size 6s were like 24, 23 inch waist or something like that, which is just diabolically small for most people. And so, but obviously it caught my attention. And so went wandering around, headed to the men's section. I had a look at all the like coats and jackets, a lot of Regatta and like Mountain Warehouse and some stuff like that. And you basically couldn't shop anywhere that wasn't in the discounted section. So there was like, they had two things going on. They had like a £5 section. They had a 70% off section.
Yeah.
But I was shopping in the men's Levi's, And they had 501s. They had all these weird sort of sizes again, like longer leg than waist by quite a bit, and all this sort of stuff going on. But the things that I did find were super interesting, and I pulled some Levi's 501 XX salvage jeans out there by like the Levi's vintage collection, which was sick, and that they're like 80 to 100 quid.
Did they have the red tab removed on the pocket?
No.
Interesting, because normally at Lulife they'll cut the little red tab off.
There was a lot where they did do that, but like
they pen mark the labels and on the inside it'll have like crosses on and stuff. Yeah,
they were pen marking a lot of stuff, and there was loads of mint velvet, and they literally snipped the label out of those.
Yeah,
so there's lots of stuff like that. But yeah, so some Levi's 501 XXs salvage. They were 20 quid. And they were used, so but I'm talking they go used for like 80 to 100 quid, generally speaking. And then I was walking around, found some like nice trousers. I can't remember what I actually picked up because I went to the Canuck one. I'm getting confused. But anyway, wandered around. They have all sorts of stuff. Really interesting, cool place. I definitely would shove my head in the door more often if I was local.
You don't have anything by you, do you?
No, I've never seen anything like that. I mean, we've got places that get good corporate donations, but like nothing like that. So, for example, they had Hobbs in there. They had Hobbs, they had Odin,
I bought loads of Hobbs. Yeah,
they got mint velvet, they got whistles, they got me and M, which was crazy to find.
Yeah,
all sorts of stuff.
So the only thing I know from speaking to the lady, so Tasha went in and spent 500 and something odd pound when they had a sale once, and we bought loads of stuff, right? And then I went back the next day and spent another 250 quid with them. And we got really friendly with the manager at that one. And they have teams of people that manage companies. So they've got one person that's dedicated to managing Levi's. They've got one person who's dedicated to managing the Hobbs relationship, right? And the one thing I will say is that sometimes, not all of them, but sometimes they're donated because they don't come up to standard. So they're not like they're new, but they're like, so a lot of the Levi's that we got, they didn't measure the same size as the tag said, because it was off by an inch or an inch or something like that. So a lot of the stuff like that, it will be like bad sizing. It hasn't been manufactured up to the standards. It's failed their quality control a lot of the time. And then on top of that, sometimes it's like old season, like shit sizes, like the 6s and the 8s and stuff like that. But when I was in there, it was quite interesting because I went in there a couple of months back, and I only look at the sale rails like there. I don't go into the other side because it doesn't really work for me a lot of the time. But I went in there and I was looking at the men's clothes, and I was like, oh, I'll have a little mooch through. And again, 98% of it dog, absolutely awful stuff. But there was just one Fred Perry bomber jacket, like nothing like I'd never seen anything like it before. And I looked and it was 12 quid. I bought it and it sold within a week for like 60. So you can still get some good deals in the sale bit as well. But they're way fewer and far between. But the good thing is that you can see all the rail, and usually they have it's not like a charity shop where you have to go through every rail, because usually it's like the front facing one is the next 10. So you can just look at the front of a lot of the rails.
In Canuck, it was like that. In the first, like all over the shop. Like it was nowhere. It wasn't organized at all, particularly. It was just all sorts of stuff. Oh, there goes my wallet. But yeah, that was really interesting and cool, and I picked up quite a few bits. I ended up picking a M dress that literally has a hole in it like this. But it's at the bottom of the skirt, and I was like, why would it literally looks like it's like been cookie cutted out of the dress. And they're saying sometimes they do this with sample stuff. If it's just because if it's a sample, then you don't need it. Also, yes, Sander, a regular. They had like a regular on the label sometimes.
Yeah.
So that was super interesting. But I bought the M dress because it was 6 quid. And I was like, I will go get this. I'll just throw this at a tailor and tell them to take it up to past the hole. And it will just probably turn from like a maxi to a midi maybe.
Yeah.
And I was like, for 6 quid and like 10 quid, I'm like, it will be fine. It was like, if it was good, it was probably like £100 dress plus. So I was like, I'm just going to chuck this at a tailor and see what happens. I couldn't leave it behind for £6. So I was like, good. I probably got other stuff to say. I can't get rid of this sofa. I've got a sofa here.
You listed it for price or free?
Free.
Oh God!
Does anyone know how to get rid of a sofa?
You've got Trash Nothing. You'll download the app called Trash Nothing.
I don't think they take a sofa though. That's the problem.
I have people on there all the time. You know the Dodgy Gardener. You know the Dodgy Gardener on Instagram.
No.
He's a guy that basically he's on like he's like on a year pretty much. He's just gone full time actually, but he basically was like he planned out his garden and like his garden was all like crap and all over the place, right? And he made a plan on ChatGPT and then just did a daily video of him like basically saying, "Here's me, you fixing up my garden, and I don't know what the fuck I'm doing." And
I have seen that guy.
Well, before that I think his name's Grant. Before that, he was the only guy I ever saw on Instagram, and he would just go and pick up every free settee, clean them, put them in a locker, and sell them.
It's not nice enough.
Is it just not nice?
You've seen it. It's like a casting couch.
Has it got a fire label? Xander was saying, and I was thinking the same thing. If it's got a fire label, get it sent to a charity shop or get them.
I don't think so. If it would be on the bottom, I haven't looked at the bottom.
Yeah, if it's got a fire label, the charity shop might take it.
They have a look right now.
No, I mean not right now. No,
I can lift the sofa up right now.
Go on then. Go and find out. Yeah, I'll find out. I'm going to bring up a topic that I want to bring up before we get into the last 5 things that we were going to talk about. And my topic is fees on eBay. Fees on eBay. I am absolutely bewildered, genuinely bewildered by the fees and the structure in place. Has it got a fire label?
No.
Okay, well you're screwed then. But yeah, the fee structure for categories on eBay genuinely confuses me. Okay, so there's 2 things, right? One is competition from Vinted when it comes to used clothes predominantly. Obviously, they sell other stuff now, and you can probably... I've sold cameras on there, I've sold other bits on there, right? So predominantly clothing, but in general, everything, right? And we are charged 11.9% on eBay for clothing, right? But I sold the coffee machine yesterday, and obviously I've sold a lot of electronics, cameras, etc., and it falls under the same category. And the fee for an electrical item like that is 6.9%.
Because it's fucking big peas.
No, but the percentage just doesn't make sense.
That's exactly why it makes sense.
No, it doesn't make sense.
Yes, it does.
I just don't get.
You gotta think. Averagely, what do you think the cost, like the sale price is of a piece of clothing on eBay?
It's probably about 10 quid on average. Like,
what do you think the average sale price is for like the electronics and coffee machine section?
No, but you've got to understand it's not just the coffee machines. It's every electrical thing from DVD players, Freeview players.
Yeah, what do you think the average price is?
Average for all of it's probably like 25 quid if you average the whole thing.
I mean, it would
I don't think it's much higher. There is so many Freeview.
Clothing is lower than 10 quid. I reckon you're probably more accurate that. So the higher the average price of the category, the lower the percentage can be.
But then they've just upped the car parts one, and car parts in general.
Car parts must be so interesting because there's so many little bits that are like not. But I don't know why they've done car parts. I also think
get it. Like I just don't understand
their dominance of the market as well, right? So, for example, electricals, there might be a lot of other places to sell them as such, whereas car parts, there's like nowhere else to sell them, or like everyone sells on eBay a lot of the time.
Maybe that is like the most sort of like shitty way of doing. I mean, I don't like eBay as much as I don't like Vinted, but yeah.
Category breakdown. Hold on.
It absolutely baffles me. I just think from like if you think about the fundamentals of the reason why people use like pre-owned clothing and stuff like that, and the volume of pre-owned clothing and stuff like that, and then the competition from Vinted, it just doesn't make sense. Like doesn't make sense in my head. That
it must be the only way they've got to make money. Okay.
Here's the question: is clothing the most expensive fee percentage?
Clothes 11.9. So trainers matches it.
Yeah.
No, event tickets.
Oh yeah, I understand that because it's probably more to do with touting and stuff like that. So they probably
electrical, smoking parts and accessories are both 12.9%.
So again, that makes more sense as well.
There's things they don't. 14.9% for jewelry and watches. 14.9% for the portion of total amount of the sale up to 1,000. Calculated per item.
Yeah.
4% for anything over 1,000.
So
12.9% for pet supplies.
Yeah, I don't get it. It genuinely baffles me. And I was talking to my brother about this, my younger one, and it makes zero sense. Just from a global sort of like world perspective in general, like clothing landfill like doesn't degrade a lot of the time. Like there's a lots of materials that don't degrade, especially with the fast fashion, all that sort of stuff. Like it genuinely just doesn't. And I understand from the same applies to electronics, but why is clothing so much higher? It just doesn't make a lot of different sense to me.
I mean, it's somehow right. Like I'd actually say clothing's more in line with the average than I actually say your category is surprisingly low.
The only thing I can think with the electronics is that there's probably a lot of stuff in there that can't be reused that they just have to put in the landfill, and then obviously they can't burn that and stuff. So maybe like in terms of incinerate it and stuff, maybe that's why. But they would make a fortune. Like just
over 1,000, it's 3%.
Over 1,000, yeah. I'm not going to get onto the fact that I have 2 auction bids for today. And one of the items I bid 1,000, and the other one I bid £1,500.
Jesus,
just for 2 items. So hopefully, if they sell for over £1,000, which they should do, I'll only get 3%, which will be lovely.
All right, Jack makes a good point here. He said he's looking forward to part 7 when we actually finish this.
Right. Okay. Let's do a little recap of the last 5 things that we talked about.
I refresh for anyone that 2 weeks ago we did.
For everybody who missed the last one.
So
number 1 on our list was discipline.
I'll just hold on. Let me explain what it is first.
Okay, go on then. Knock yourself out, sir.
Last 2 weeks ago, we started basically on a list of 10 things that are going to help your business or this year. The things that focus on that should make a difference and help you be successful in reselling and business in general. Obviously, some of them are reselling related. Some of them you can apply generally. But yeah, we now got the second half of the list because we didn't finish the first half of the list because we talked a lot. And this program
we've done the same again this week.
We'll finish in this half. Thank you.
But so the first 5 things we talked about were discipline, focus, systems and processes, workspace, which has prompted me to clean my dining room, which I'm very happy about, and diversity of sourcing, which I have been on top of recently. I'm getting shit from everywhere at this point, so it's crazy. And then it brings us to the next one, which is a fundamental of business and one that neither of us apply very often or very well. And it is the one that I'm going to, moving forward, I'm trying to implement more. And it is knowing numbers down to the nth degree of how much you're paying, how much you're selling, how much you're spending, all of this. And I've done some spreadsheets for January or December, sorry. I went back and I used ChatGPT and stuff like that and Claude and AI or whatever to go through spreadsheet and stuff like that. And it's really actually interesting. The difference between that is, so I use Bofix and QuickBooks to do all my accounting and stuff. Mm-hmm. But what it does is it gives you an overall breakdown, right? So you know how much you've spent on goods, you know how much money you've taken in, you've got van insurance, all these sorts of things, costs and stuff like that. But it doesn't give you because you're not tracking how many items you've purchased or whatever. You don't know your average cost of goods and your average sale price, therefore average profit, etc., etc. I've always worked off the fact that my business account has more money in it, or the same. If it's got the same amount of money or more money in it than the last one, I'm usually relatively happy, right? But because of the added expenses, so for anybody who doesn't know, potentially going to look at a unit this week. So like that is an extra, probably overall like another grand a month that I'm going to have to pay out. So I need to know more about my numbers and stuff like that. And when you're making different decisions, knowing your numbers is massively important. And that's something that I've been thinking about more and more because I've been vibing it for 3 years, man.
No, well, it's a work in progress podcast. You know, we're slowly getting our way to ourselves there. I think so. Knowing your numbers has always been an interesting one to me, right? Because my counter argument to most people that say know your numbers, right, is how does knowing your numbers impact your decision making? Like, what do you do?
The fundamental is really easy, right? Which is if you know how much on average you're spending, and you know how much on average you're selling for, then you'll know on average how much profit you're making. And therefore you can use those numbers to go, well, actually, I'm not making enough. So now I need to improve. I can not necessarily lower your cost of goods. I'm never a lower your cost of goods kind of guy. It's not my vibe, right? But if I'm paying, say my average cost of goods is £11, for instance, right? I'm not going to go, oh, I need to try and bring that down to 10 because that is going to massively limit what you can and can't pick up. But what you can do is try and improve your cost of goods by, or your average sale price, sorry, and buy better.
Okay. This is what I do. Even though I agree with the principle of this, I have beef with it in the same vein. Firstly, I actually want to know, like, if people in here were very honest with themselves, and and really like, how well do I know my number? Not just like a general like, oh, I generally think I sell stuff for this, and then I generally think who actually here feels like they know their numbers, like genuinely. Like you're super confident in how your business, like knowing how your business is performing and stuff like that. There's like 33 people in here, but it's I'm interested to see who genuinely or not, right? Like if you're just like, no, I don't. Also fair.
I have a very rough idea currently.
Crystal knows, of course.
Yeah, I have a rough idea. That's about as much as I've got.
I do feel I'm on top of my numbers. Yet Simon also makes sense. Yeah, since I use Crystal spreadsheet.
And you've got people like Andy.
That like this week, Xander.
I feel like people like Andy and stuff, obviously, the guys that are tracking everything. So my interesting question then is, if you know your numbers, is the knowledge of knowing and the things that you can do with that warranting of the time it takes to put individual numbers into a spreadsheet to make it, like, is it worth the time?
Okay.
Because part of me is like, I'm going through and recapping based on like spreadsheets, but I'm only really getting the spreadsheet that QuickBooks give me, which is an overall, right? I'm still not going in and counting how many items I'm purchasing or whatever. So maybe if I want to do it, maybe I really need to knuckle down and think about like actually counting every single thing and to see whether it's actually worth it.
The instant response from Xander and Crystal was like, yes. And then Joe Money said I track my sales every sale. I don't. Okay, but Joe, by you track every sale, do you mean you do line by line accounting? So you inventory everything that comes in, and then also track against that every time you make a sale. Is that what you're saying, or do you just say, oh, every sale is like it's noted down in an expense sheet when it happens? Because those are like very different things, in my opinion.
My biggest problem with tracking numbers is that people say they track their numbers, but they don't actually track their numbers. Because they will track their numbers in the sense of so if I spend £500 on stock today and I buy 22 items, right? They'll go, oh well, that's an average cost of X, right? But one of those items might sell for £10 more than you paid for it, and one might sell for £1,000 more than you paid for it. So when you do averages, I disagree with people that say that they do averages and then tell me that they know their numbers, because they don't.
No, I don't.
In my opinion, the only way they know their numbers is if they know how much profit they've made on every individual item and then add the profit. I'm not having this bullshit. If you know your numbers, you know how much you paid for an item, how much you sold it for, and you know the profit. Yes.
That's not true. It's just not true.
Makes no sense.
It makes perfect sense.
No, it doesn't.
It does, because if you go through the average scope of the year, right, you still know exactly how much money you've made based on the fact that you've averaged everything you've bought and everything you've sold. So the numbers will work out.
It's a lazy way of doing it.
It's not. It's a smart way of doing it in this industry, because else it's way too much like the admin to do what you're talking about, especially when you don't have repeat items, is far too much. That is
why I don't do it. But my point is that
you're complaining about something you don't need.
I'm not complaining about it. I'm just saying that I don't think average cost of goods and average sale price is a true reflection of somebody's business, and therefore you can.
It is.
No, it's not.
How could it not be?
Because it's not. Because there's so many items that you can have that are just dog. And this is one thing that I don't like, is that people. I'm not saying anybody here, by the way, but I have seen people that say that they do average cost of goods, and they will say, oh, my average cost of goods is £10, right? And they'll go, oh, I bought these 10 items, right? And they all cost me £10 a piece. Mm-hmm. But actually one cost 8, and that's going to sell for 15 or 20. And the other lot costs 12, and they're going to sell for 30. You don't buy the shit one, and you just buy the good ones. But because you're averaging it, people use it as a crux to buy bad items.
That's very different.
But that right there is the reason why averages don't work, because
but that's not the reason averages don't work. Your averages would still work in that situation, because your ASP would be brought down by the fact you've sold an item for less. So it would still work out that item is accounted for in the average. It doesn't make a difference. Okay. But what you're saying is, if you're using average cost of goods to justify purchasing decisions that aren't as good, that's not a average cost of goods for like problem. That's a purchasing decision. That's your mentality.
But if you can manipulate it in your brain for a purchasing decision, then in a business model and looking at it like that, it just doesn't work.
But that's not the same as it not accounting for the numbers properly.
For instance, if you look at my business now, right, and I said to you, over the last 12 months, my average sale price is £36, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I do a sale tomorrow, and I clear out all of my dead stock, and it sells for cost value, right? And then I've got a bunch of items like the coffee machine where I'm selling for £200. The average is still going to be £30, but that it doesn't make any sense or difference. Like, it doesn't do anything for me. So like, I could sell a bunch of stuff at cost or not make any money, and then I could sell a bunch of stuff for like £1,000 profit, and those two things will average out, and that doesn't mean anything. The average means nothing there.
But you still know how well your business is performing, even though you're doing that model, right? Like, you could do that, but you will still get an actual reflection of how much money you're making based on those averages. Because if both things are accounted for, the £1,000 profit is accounted for and weighted against, right? So you could have 5 things you sell for £1,000 and 20 things you sell for cost, and those things would balance out, and you'd see the average amount of profit or the actual profit you've made if you did it at the end of the year, right? Based on the two averages of how much you've made generally. It doesn't give you like again, if you're using that to make uninformed buying decisions, that's stupid. Like, I don't think you should look at your average cost of goods and be like, for example, if your average, if Andy said here, if you buy something for £15 and you assign an average cost of goods, tell me how that makes sense. Help your business with the future purchasing. So my point being here is, you don't use your average cost of goods as a decision-making tool to buy things. That's what you do.
But you're equating that average regardless.
No.
Yes.
No, it doesn't matter. You can say it. That it's just easier to track the overall money making of your business. So you don't go in and say, "Oh, my average cost of goods is £3, so I can pay £20 and sell this for 15." That makes no sense.
In my head, the only time that an average cost of goods makes any sense in a purchasing decision is like what Xander said. There is if you're buying a wholesale bundle and there is not an assigned value per, so you're not going if for instance I've got somebody I'm talking to, right, where they have got a price for every, like, if I wanted to buy a pair of jeans, it's £11.60, and I buy 100 pairs, it's £11.60 a pair of jeans, right? I can't say it's something different or whatever. But if it's multiple different items, and
why does that not work for your whole business?
Because it only works if there's no assigned cost.
It doesn't.
There's no assigned cost to a 560 item other than the big cost. So therefore you do have to average that. But from a profit perspective, it doesn't make any sense.
It does, because in terms of working out how much you're going to make from that bundle, the average makes perfect sense. That's how you know. That's how you work it out.
I don't like averages at all.
There's a complete difference.
Anyone can do whatever they want. I've seen in the chat, there's a lot of like madness in there. I don't care what you do, and you can do whatever you want. And I don't do line by line, this is how much I spent and this is how much, because I don't want to do it, and I know it's long and it's time consuming, right? So like Simon said there, can you tell us how to do it? No, I can't, because I don't do it and I don't want to do it. But I don't have beef, but I only question the averages because the averages don't make sense to me.
But that's because you're viewing it from the perspective of, oh, you're buying, like, you're using your average cost of goods to make purchasing decisions. That is not a thing. Like, I don't think that should be a thing. You should never look, every individual purchase, especially how we do it, should be weighted against your metric. What is your metric? What do you want to make out of that? Is this going to return the percentage of money you want from the item? Then that's its own separate thing. And then to track how much business money you're actually making overall, finding out your average cost of goods and your average sale price will give you your average profit margin per item. And that's how you're looking at that. is going to be how you determine if your business is performing how you want it to. The average cost of goods is to determine how your business is performing. The metric is determined how individual items perform. And if you don't buy based on your metric and you're buying based on the fact you've got an average cost of goods of £3 and you're making you're buying something for 15 and selling it for 18 because you've got a £3 average cost of goods, that makes no sense. That's not how you should be behaving. But it generally makes sense as a tool to understand your business. So, for example,
I think it's a way to have a very basic knowledge. But if you've got an average cost of goods and an average sale price, you're no more knowledgeable than me in my numbers, and I don't track my numbers.
Yes, they are.
They aren't, because I can go to my QuickBooks, I can look at how many items I've sold, I can look at how much I've spent and how much I've paid, and I can get an average of how much I've sold and paid for. Yeah, so I can get that average within 2 seconds, and I don't track shit. So I can get the exact same number as you.
You can say it however you want. If you're getting an average and you're using it to assess something, and it's helpful. But like they do know more than you, because when they're looking at average, or I assume when people are looking at averages, right, is they're accounting for costs and everything that go into it, generally speaking, right? So you can see how much revenue you've made and how much you've paid, but then you don't know how much has gone to fees. You don't know how much, like what your actual margin is on all this stuff. And where it's going. So they then, by tracking their averages, get an understanding of how they're expecting.
What you said to me in your explanation of averages is that the average cost of goods doesn't matter and the average sale price doesn't matter, because all you need to care about is the profit, and that's what you know. Because you by averages, you'll find out what your profit is. I can go to how much I've spent, and I can go to how much.
You need to account for the stuff in your averages.
I can go to how much I've spent, and I can go to how much, and then whatever in between is my profit. Done. So I don't need to track anything. I could just go to the accountant's sheet at the end and find it within 2 seconds.
That doesn't mean, yeah, but that is a version of tracking, right? If you want to take the time afterwards to go down and break down what, like, categorize. I haven't
got to break down anything. I can take how much I've spent and go, right, I've spent £6,000. Oh, my profit is £8,000. Like, I can just look at it and go, oh, that's £8,000 done. So why do I need to track anything for averages? Because the averages is the same principle.
Because you break down what it is. Yeah, I mean, you don't, like, I do the same thing. Like, if I want to find out information about my numbers, right, I will go look at my spending. I'll break, but that's because it's tracked. Like, it is tracked in a roundabout way. That's just a different form of tracking of how it's done.
Why put the? I mean, I like it because if I say to Crystal how many, so the only thing that I do think that's interesting with the tracking is that Crystal knows how many. If I asked her 4 days ago, how many did you sell on eBay and how many did you sell on Vinted, she'll know. Whereas I don't. I can look at how many I've sold on eBay, but I would have to go through Vinted and find out. So from that kind of a perspective, it's interesting to know. But in terms of the actual monetary side of it, they're not any more knowledgeable by doing a percentage averages and all that sort of stuff than I am. And it takes me 2 seconds to look if I wanted to.
They are though, because they know it. You have to go work it out. Like, the difference between tracking and not tracking.
5 seconds versus typing in a spreadsheet every day.
Yeah, but it's not hard to. It takes 5 seconds to type in a spreadsheet every day. They know it every day.
Because you have to count how many items you've purchased. You then have to add up all of the how much you've spent, and then you've got to put it in your spreadsheet at the end. Or you've got to type in.
Okay, that's actually a great point. If you go to your bank account right now and you see your spending, do you know how many items you bought?
Yeah, if I wanted to check, I would just count through. Yeah, take 10 seconds.
How would you know how many items you bought?
Because I would find out how many have come through.
How do you know how many items you bought?
Because I would just go on there and I can look. I did it yesterday.
It doesn't tell you.
It does, because it says MGP Vinted and then it's a purchase. So
no, it doesn't tell you how. So, for example, if you went to a charity shop, right, and you bought 50 items, you'd have no idea.
Well, I know because I bought 50 items, and then
if it was from February this year, right, February last year, you'd have no idea how many items.
What information is that doing to benefit me?
That's how you work out your average cost of goods. You need to work out how many items you've sold.
But because you said that if your average cost of goods and your average sale price, and all you need to know is the profit, I can find the profit in 2 seconds. If my business is to make, I don't know, say 25% profit, and I look at how much I've spent and how much I've sold, I can work out whether I've got a 25% profit margin within 2 seconds without tracking a damn thing.
Yeah, but you don't know what it's due. So, for example, you don't know what the actual benefit. Like, for example, if you've got all the other expenses in your business, yeah, you could work out the general profit of your business. That's how I do a tax return every year, right? Is I work out the profit of my business. But in terms of how well your items are performing and what margin you have left on when you're buying stuff and how much you can pay for things, that you won't be able to work that out.
If you know the margin anyway, then you don't need to know.
Yeah, you don't know how much you can pay for things.
You don't need to know your margin, like the in-depth margin for every item, because you'll have an understanding of what your average cost of goods can be, and what your average sale price, like what your sale price would be. So you just need to know how much
everything. Because if you're including everything, right, you don't know how much you can averagely pay for things. Like you've got like this bulk number of how much you've paid for stock and then how much margin you've made. And you could say, oh, I can pay, I can afford to take minus 10% on all my margins. You wouldn't know what you're generally paying for stuff though.
Also, like Andy's kind of triggered it with his last comment, which is if I buy stuff this month and I take that buy-in price and then I take the profit, I'm not selling the same items. So none of it matters.
That's why you do averages though.
Nah, you're never going to convince me.
That's why you do averages.
You're never going to convince me. If you're going to do your numbers properly, then you need to know exactly how much you're spending and know the exact profit in between every time.
But why? Why does that make a difference?
Because then because I could turn around to somebody who knows it and say, okay, here's this item. How much did you pay for it? How much did you sell it for? Not my average buy cost is
now we're looking at the same thing.
£20 or £15. Like your average means shit. So, for instance, that coffee machine yesterday, my average cost of goods would be around £11, right?
Mm-hmm.
That coffee machine cost me £130 from an auction,
mm-hmm.
and then it sold for £260. But
yeah,
my average sale price is about 35.
Why are you comparing those things?
Because my point is that is a complete anomaly. So
but that's accounted for in averages.
But if I said to you, how much did you buy that for and how much you sell it for, you're not going to know. You're going to know the average.
Well, you just did.
No, I know how much because it was like a week ago and it sold really quickly.
Yeah.
But a month ago, like, oh, you had this item. How much you pay for it and how much you sell it for? Well, my average and my average.
Yeah, I mean, you knowing
so the averages will always let you get away with shit. They would always let you get away with shit stuff.
Averages just your way is just a way of
always you get away with making bad decisions, buying crap items, and not knowing whether they're bad or crap items.
No, that's not the averages. That's you.
No.
Yes.
No.
You're not buying based on averages. It's you.
I'm not having this at
averages
all.
aren't buying your items for you.
No, because if you're average, if I go to the charity shop, no, I'm not doing it. It's not happening.
You're meant it's what you buy on. Your averages is to get understanding. One is after the other.
I can find the same shit within 2 minutes on QuickBooks. I don't need to track everything.
Tell me what your cost of goods is. Okay, we've got 8 minutes to the end of this call. Tell me what your cost of goods is.
Oh yeah, your mum makes a very good point. We're on number 1 of 5, so we should.
I know it's too late already. We're already in the hole. We're too deep in the hole to get out.
But basically, knowing your numbers is important. And apparently, we can't agree on how we should know our numbers and what we should know. But
it's funny because you brought this up, and I was going to argue that I'd say know your numbers isn't that useful. That was going to be my argument.
Your argument for the whole thing is that knowing your numbers is useful. So make your mind up.
You said averages isn't useful. Averages is better than line by line for us because it doesn't matter what line by line is, especially when you're buying individual things. So you're saying line by line is better because you know your numbers. What difference does it make? Like, what difference does knowing the one-off purchase and how much you made on that item make?
Okay, well, if you take averages, the average cost of goods, average sale price, completely irrelevant. Average profit is the most important thing.
But so you do that by working out your average cost of goods, your average sale price.
No, I can do that by going to my account at the end of the month and go, look how much I spent.
You don't know how many items you've got.
What?
You don't know your average. You don't know.
If you do it off sales, you know that if you've sold X amount.
Yeah, I got it. Watch this. All right. No, I've actually got it. Okay. Chris, if I wanted to ask you, how many more items do you need to sell a day to make an extra £500?
Well, I literally one if I had the right item, right?
No. With how your business is running currently, how many extra sales do you need to make a day to make an extra £500 profit?
You're going to make me do this because you know that I've got to refer to eBay's averages, and I don't want to.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting? Isn't it interesting? If you want to understand how to grow your business and what,
all I've got to do is buy 4 more coffee machines. That's what I've got to do.
Is that how your business works? You're going to go coffee machines now?
Hey,
you got 4 coffee machines a day in the bag.
Sold, great niche, fantastic niche. Coffee machines and cameras.
Case closed. Thank you.
There's no case closed because it's irrelevant.
Of course, it's not.
I'm not basing it off of averages.
But you should. That's how you.
It all depends on the item.
That's it. Yeah, but you're based on your business. The averages reflects your business. Unless you're suddenly going to change your business, and you're going to scale up your business, and you want to make this much extra money, you have no idea how many items you need to list on average per day because you don't know your averages. You don't know your average profit. So
I know my averages, but I just don't think they're as important as you're trying to make out.
I don't think they're that important, but the point is they're useful. The point is that they're beneficial, and you don't need to do line by line accounting to know your numbers.
All I need to know is how much profit I'm making, and I know that. So,
do you?
Yeah.
Do you?
I could. I mean, I'm not going to, but I could
tell you.
You
don't know it. End of story.
I'm not going to, but I could tell you exactly how much profit I made last month. But I'm not going to.
I would actually be interested how long that would take you, to be honest.
I mean, I could tell you now, but I'm not going to
spend it. Where are we?
In the 50k call, we're going to continue this discussion about numbers and averages because we can argue on there because it's unrecorded and it's more fun.
I feel like I concluded it just then. I feel like
no, you didn't at all. But right, number 2. Actually, to be fair, what I will say is that there is one here that's super easy and really quick to go over, which is knowledge stroke self-improvement, which I think is an interesting one because what go on.
I'm just laughing at this. I'm just laughing at you starting number 2 for like 4 minutes, 2 minutes, 20 things on the head. I was like, it's just not happening.
Listen.
It's not happening.
Knowledge and self-improvement, really easy. Really? Jack was right. We're going to be on part 7 before we finish this. But knowledge and self-improvement, improve your knowledge and understand it, improving yourself. Maybe I'll become an accountant and then I'll know my numbers. There you go.
I mean, that, to be honestly, that like in terms of things that are going to be beneficial to you in this business, you can learn the basics, or just in business in general, you can learn the basics and understand all the things you need to do. But if your knowledge never expands past that point, I feel like you just get stuck, right? Like there's only so much you can, like, if your knowledge doesn't grow, your business will struggle to grow, like every single time, right? Because things that allow you to pick up more and buy more is expanding your knowledge. That could be, for example, expanding in clothing, expanding your brand knowledge, or expanding your knowledge on availability to source things, where to source things, what opportunities like are open to you, all this sort of stuff, right? Like if you don't continue to try and push to get better in terms of understanding knowledge and understanding yourself and how you operate, then your business is just going to stay stagnant. You'll die eventually because you need to get in this life. Unfortunately, there's things called inflation and cost of living, and they go up for the most part. Don't often see them go down. So if you aren't generally growing or improving year by year, and this is something that Hanley's always said, that I was like, I didn't at first, because I used to argue like, oh, you're happy where you are kind of thing. Just like, it doesn't matter if you're happy where you are, because if things keep going up, you're technically going down. And I was like, that makes a lot of sense, to be honest. So I think if you don't keep improving, and I think knowledge and understanding is going to be the biggest thing in that, and learning new things, because else you're stuck.
I agree. But we are going to be able to get through this in the next 10 minutes. We're going to have to extend it by 10 minutes. But
you want to try and bang it out?
Yeah, we're going to bang it out right now. My next one is very interesting because I didn't really show this in the last 10 minutes, but self-awareness. To know when you're doing something wrong.
Oh dear.
And admit that you're doing it wrong and be aware of the fact that you might not be right. Or, I think self-awareness is a massive thing in terms of knowing whether you're doing things right, wrong, and making good decisions. I think you've got to be massively self-aware.
I mean, okay, like jokes aside, in all our books that we've read so far, like in the business book club and everything like that, all of it has come.
Every single bit of it.
Pretty much all of it's come back around to being self-aware in some aspect.
Yeah.
But then also doing something about that. So for like step one, I feel like it's always self-awareness. Like if you look at like drug addicts and stuff like that, like first step, admit you've got a problem. like unlike Chris here. First step is like admit you've got a problem and then understand how to combat that problem and actively do something about it. And I think this comes in your business in understanding when a big part of in reselling, for example, is going back to numbers, is not deluding yourself into, and this is where knowing your numbers does come in as a benefit, right? Like a super strong benefit is it holds you accountable. Like regardless of what you're doing, it will, you tracking your numbers and writing them down every day will make you look at yourself in the face and be like, what did I actually do today? What did I actually make? What's actually happening every day? Like you can't escape it. If you go and write your numbers down, they keep you honest. And you can't be like, oh, I bought this and I'm pretty sure it sold for this. And I feel like I'm making good money. Or I quite like this. And I'm going to try and sell it. Like, no. You got to be self-aware when you're being biased and playing to, like, for example, if you keep trying to sell something because you liked it or it's sold in the past and you just keep going because to you it's good, it's a good item, but no one's buying it, you're not being self-aware of the fact that even though your biases are playing into the fact that how your business is performing, and like that's a real problem. And if you let those problems get too big and don't look at yourself in the face, like you'll get yourself into all sorts of trouble, generally speaking.
Right. And I want to put a very quick pin in this for 2 seconds before we go on to the next one. Can everybody in the comments let me know whether they agree with my conversation about averages or whether they think I'm wrong? Can you I just want to see in the comments. I want to know how many people think that averages do or don't make sense. So tell me in the comments and I'll read them as we're going through. But the next one, I can't wait for this. But
that therefore comes down to if they do or don't understand it as well.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. No.
What do you mean it doesn't? Like, you just said does it make sense?
It doesn't make any sense, right? And then one of my favorites and one of my most important things that I believe for a successful business in any way. So number one we had on the list from last week was discipline, and this one falls hand in hand, which is consistency and making sure that you are very consistent. Because one of the things that you can, so for instance, for a perfect example, is that I've got to go to the gym today, but I don't want to go. And do you know why I don't want to go? Because I missed it 4 times last week because I was so busy and I've had so much going on in life as well as all of this. I've missed it 4 times last week. So today I'm like, I don't really want to go because I haven't been consistent of just getting up and getting it done, but I'm going today. And I think that's a big thing with consistency, is making sure that if you do fall off the wagon at any point, the next available opportunity to get back and do it, you need to get back and do it, so that you, although you haven't been consistent, when you have the time and you've made time or whatever, you are consistent in that. Because for me, it's the biggest thing that's made the biggest difference in our business, is just being super consistent and making sure we're bashing out everything that needs to be done is just done.
I generally agree, right? I think one thing that's going to make a difference I think the reason consistency is important is one, I feel like people assume big things happen really fast. Yeah. Like there's also the idea of that you overestimate how much you can do like fast, and then there's a million different versions of this, and then underestimate how much you can do slow, right? And if you're talking consistency, this is where that massively comes in, because everyone, like, they make a change in their business or they'll start buying maybe some better stuff or whatever, and then they'll expect sudden, big, drastic things to happen a lot of the time, or they're like you almost have to ignore it and just be consistent with something you know that is a right decision, and the rewards pay off at the end. They're not, everything lags. Like there's no sudden realization that your business is a million times better or whatever. You've got to wait, you've got to be consistent. And the other thing being consistent does, if you do it sporadically, it's super hard to build the habit. Like it's super hard to still need the motive. Like if you want to get rid of the fact you need the motivation, right? You just have to be consistent long enough and your brain will just rewire itself to be like, I just do this now. This is what, it feels weird I'm not doing this today. This is what I do every day. I've got to get up and do this.
Even the very basic like level, right, is that if you go from a 9 to 5 to doing this, like the consistency in listing every day, the consistency in taking photos every day, like that all falls into place by the fact that this is just what you do now. Like I get up and I just do what I do now. It is consistency, but I don't even think about it because it's my daily routine, if that makes sense.
And literally, if you want rewards, right, if you want stuff to pay off, that needs to be happening it needs to be. Again, part of the reason I think the habit of listing every day is big is not because I think eBay makes, it makes such a big difference to these platforms that if you don't list every day, they're going to destroy you and you're not going to perform well. It's about making sure it gets done and being able to output the same thing consistently. Because if you can't be consistent in your daily actions or even your like weekly actions at a bigger frame, then you're not going to be consistent in your monthly outputs, your numbers in your business. They're not going to be consistent. If you are inconsistent, your business will be inconsistent. And that's why I think that holding yourself to that or trying as hard you can to find something you can be consistent with. And this looks different to everyone, right? So if you are a parent and you have to deal with children before 9:30 and after 3 every day, your consistency is going to be completely different to mine, for example, where I work till 8 every day because that's what I prefer to do and makes sense to me for the most part. But you have to find what works for you, and you have to search for the consistency in your life, and you'll see patterns. Like life works on a lot of patterns. Obviously, there's a lot of sporadicness. Especially when it comes to children and stuff like that, and things getting into your life, like last week for you, right? You're so personal issues. Then realistically, that's going to surprise you, and you can't do anything about that. But you will get back to the point. Is you fight to get back to being consistent and working around it, and maybe your life changes completely, right? And then you have to find a new way to be consistent. But the point is, you always try and find that route forward that will lead you to consistent results as such.
I think this is probably the biggest thing that I would take away if I was starting again. Like I think I've said it before on here, and I've said it many times in the past, which is that when I moved from full-time work to this, like full-time, I thought I could just get up whenever I felt like it. I thought I could just do what I wanted whenever. And then you realize very quickly that you're not going to be successful if you don't put things into place, like getting up at a certain time, or at least within a certain time frame, and then being consistent every single day. Like even for me, there are people, I don't know if he's doing it anymore, but James was doing like batch photos, like one day of doing like 100 odd photos. But I can't, in my brain won't let me do that because in my head, I'm always a day ahead. So basically if I take photos today, they're for tomorrow, and that's kind of the way. But if I fall into the trap if I've got too many photos, of forgetting that I've got too many photos, or not, like, and then 3 days later I'm like, shit, I haven't done any photos, and then I have to go and do them for that day. So the consistency for me is if I do 20 sets of photos every day, then I'm always going to be one day ahead. And then if I desperately need to, for whatever reason, I'm going away or whatever, then I can batch out a bunch. But consistency of just getting up and doing the 20 photos every day is something that's massive to me, because if I don't, it upsets my rhythm, and if it upsets my rhythm, it ends up taking 3 days to get it back. So I definitely think if you're starting out reselling, it's definitely one of the biggest things to take away.
How many more have we got left?
Well, one more, and it's a bit of a shameless plug. And that's
perfect time for it.
Perfect time for it. And that is community, because it doesn't matter. I think loads of people have said this. It doesn't matter if you join a group or not in a group, or you're in Instagram or Facebook groups or free groups or paid groups. I don't think any of it really matters. Obviously, there are benefits to each and every single one of those groups, and some of the benefits will be different to the ones in different groups, etc. But just having a community of people or being surrounded by, like, I learned so much when I first started to watching YouTube videos of Ricky and George and guys like that, where I was learning when I first started. And then when I felt like I'd taken enough knowledge from them guys, I then moved into the Instagram world and started taking knowledge from a lot of people on there that are very good at sharing stuff. And a lot of the ladies on Instagram are incredible because they will share so much when it comes to women's clothing that I knew nothing about when I started. And then obviously you navigate from there into maybe Facebook groups that are free, and then you can go into paid groups and stuff like that, which is something that I think is very good because it's almost like you're fast tracking learning. And one of the very good things about I'm just plugging the reseller group here, but one thing that I think with the reseller group is very good is that you fast track the learning. And if you go on any course for any sort, like you go on Amazon and look for somebody who's selling a course, it's like £500 to £1,000 for like a week course. Whereas like these like groups that we run and some of the others, like it's a monthly subscription of like £30 and you get infinite amounts of knowledge. There's multiple calls on multiple different things, and you can learn and take away the bits that make sense for you in your business. And community is definitely a massive thing that I think has improved our business and what we're doing. And then also on top of that, you can make some really good friends. Like I met you in a group, and then we spoke once, I think, and then you didn't accept my friend's request on Instagram. Then I met you at the eBay Open, and you were like, no, sorry, bro. And then
that's how I sound like in your head.
And then 12 months later, we've got a group together, we've got a podcast together, and we're exploring other avenues and other things as well. So I think it's really incredible the amount of things that you can get from it and the people that you meet, and you never know where it's going to go.
I just did to like kind of echo that as well. And like, I think the other reason for community, business community specifically, right, like is I stay so much more on track and focused in terms of the fact that you talk about it with people. Like, for example, who would I be able to, even today, right? Who would I be arguing with about average cost of goods if I didn't know anyone? I'm just having the argument myself in my room. But in terms of like thinking about business and being surrounded, especially people like aspiring to do better, right? Like I think you always hear the stuff about, that some of the people you spend the most time around or whatever, right?
Yeah.
If you're surrounded by certain culture, and this just goes for anything in life, if you're surrounded by certain culture of, especially in this case, people trying to do well and grow like a reselling business, then it only benefits you in terms of focusing on what you like, what's gonna help you, and like where your head's at every day. Because I know previously from trying to do like entrepreneurial things by myself, I'm not too great at it, to be honest. I'm not too good at staying on the and focusing on and be like making sure I'm doing the things every day that I know I should be doing, because I just don't. There's nothing outside of myself and thinking about it myself. I've got nothing else that really keeps me on track. And when I used to do the best at entrepreneurial stuff is when I'm in it. Like every day I'm like watching YouTube videos on it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And being part of a community is exactly the same as that, but like less boring after a while of watching YouTube videos.
And what we do is can be quite boring and quite not. I wouldn't say lonely, because I quite enjoy the peace and quiet of not having like office. I think Luke said it once where he misses the office and misses and I am the total opposite to that. I've been in an office, didn't want to be there, and I'm much happier being in this office where there's less people. So I think for me, it's great, but then there is an element for me specifically. Like the biggest impact it's had on me was when I was learning learning women's clothing and stuff. That's when I've had the biggest impact on me. Is it fast tracked my learning? Like I still pick up bad things now occasionally, but like my knowledge of women's clothing now, based on being around people that sell it and talk about it and understand it way more than I do, means that I've been able to fast track my learning progress from that. So
I mean, the other like I have learned. So if you do know me, I like to ask a lot of questions. And when I came to the other group, like I just rocked up and asked a million questions. And I would just come every week with something that new that was like on my mind, or something I'd come across in my business. And obviously that's, as I've grown to learn more or whatever, it's settled down more, but I still ask far too many questions for the most. Well, not too many, but the fact that you can just kind of rock up to somewhere and you have like a hive mind of people to just ask anything, just
anything.
and ask anything you need, or like anything you're having a problem with. There's a good likelihood that someone has dealt with it before you. So realistically, they're there to help you out whenever you need it. So I think there's loads to it. And I think community is a really strong thing, especially in all senses. And you can kind of dip in and out when you want, but it's there to support you no matter what. So yeah.
And if you didn't know, the link's in the description, and we're on Instagram. Follow us there.
Thank you very much.
And Joe said it's the best place to be. Joe's one of our people that are in the group, and I think it was the last time we checked in with Joe, she was 3 times better off in revenue than when she started the group. So she's what's it proven proof or something like that? Was it?
I know, I was gonna say prime example.
Prime example, proven proof. So there you go. And we appreciate you sitting with us for 2 episodes of 10 things and a week off. So yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, we will see. We'll see what happens next week. But we appreciate you all being here. Our living proof. Yeah,
that's the one.
And we'll see you next week. Thank you very much. Bye.